all set.
Okay. Welcome, everybody, to Planning Commission, Centerville, Utah, for April 8th, 2026. We have everybody here except for Commissioners Patterson and Jenkins.
Nope,
And
I'm right here.
not Patterson, Jordan.
Not Patterson,
She's
Jorgensen.
walking in.
And
Oh.
she is here.
Excellent. We only are missing Commissioner Jenkins. Goodness gracious, sorry about that.
Down here.
Right here. We are going to start with a quick legislative prayer and thought, and then we'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
So the thought that things I've been thinking about this week has to do with the importance of local government as compared to, I read a study that said nearly 3/4 of Americans do not trust the federal government. And let me read that again. 3/4 of Americans trust their local governments, and only about 1/3 of the people can trust the legislative branch of the United States. So as I thought about that, I thought, that's a kind of a telling thing. We have a real distrust of what's going on in Washington, D.C. But in our local government, where we can be more involved, where we feel like we can have some input, where we know the people that are in the government, in our local community, we feel more comfortable, and we feel like we can have a say, and we feel like we can participate. And hopefully that's the way we feel in Centerville, that there is a feeling that we can have a say, and we can participate and make a difference by coming to meetings and by putting forth things that we think need to happen in our community. And hopefully the people on the Planning Commission and on the City Council are listening to the things that the citizens are saying, so that we feel like we are a part of what's happening. And I feel like that's a really important thing. So that was my thought. And now I'll offer a quick prayer. Our dear Heavenly Father, we're grateful for the opportunity to gather together in this Planning Commission meeting. We're grateful for the opportunity to participate and to have our voices heard. We pray that Thy Spirit will be with us and with those that present tonight, that we will understand and communicate with one another and make good decisions. And we pray for these blessings in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Conditional uses. My fave. Actually, I like them. So, Mr. Eggett, Ms. DeWeese, what are we doing? There you go. Fire away.
Right. So the applicant, Alex, and the business owner, Jada, correct? Awesome. Jada has submitted a request for a conditional use permit to establish a dog daycare that includes the dog daycare, boarding, pet spa, cat boarding, and other pet taxi services. The business is categorized as a kennel. This is required in the conditional use permit for the industrial high zone, which this property is located. At this time, we have not had any feedback from the public, even though a notice was posted on site and sent out to the required parties. The code requirements for a conditional use permit is number 1, will the proposed use be detrimental to the health, safety, and general welfare of persons residing or working in the vicinity, or injurious to the property or improvements of the vicinity? Staff's comment is no, it will not be. Something to note is that within the city limits, there is a buffering requirement between industrial zones and residential zones. So while this is at the edge of Centerville, the southern side, the residential properties are in West Bountiful. But with that being said, the requirements for the residential properties buffering that are met, even though they are not technically required. So that would include a 30-foot buffering zone. They have 33 feet distance from the rearmost portion of the building to the city limits, so that meets that one. The other one is a architectural buffer. There's a 6-foot white vinyl fence, so that meets the architectural buffer. And then the other one, which is slightly off, but it is an architecture buffer consists of solid white fencing. If so, reducing the noise barrier, such landscaping shall consist of at least 1 tree for every 200 feet of fencing. There has been 3 trees planted on the property and about a 4-foot strip of grass. The only reason why I say however is because it is the certain tree material that is typically required. So I think it is I can't remember what type it was, but it was a specific type of tree. If it was evergreen, that's what it was. It was an evergreen tree that's typically required. The trees planted on there are non-evergreen trees, but that's just something to note and keep in mind. The trees are still built out to their full growth, and it creates a really nice buffer, in my opinion. Next is code requirement number 2, is the proposed use of the particular location necessary or desirable to provide a service or facility which will contribute to the general well-being of the neighborhood and the community. Staff response is yes. Code requirement number 3, does the proposed use comply with the regulations and conditions specifically specified in the title for such use? Yes. I do just want to call out item number 8, which is the safeguards provided for or proposed to prevent noxious or offensive emissions such as noise, glare, dust, pollutants, and odors. Odors was really the only one that I could foresee being a possible issue. So my response to that is regular removal or disposal of animal waste will be required as part of the conditions of approval. And then finally, code number 4, the proposed use will comply with the applicable provisions of the general plan, both for the current and the proposed general plan. They do meet that. So in summary, based on this analysis, staff finds that the proposed use is appropriate for the location and recommends approval of the conditional use permit with the applicable conditions listed below.
Thank you very much. So I'll take it back to the commission. Questions for staff. I can start with a couple of mine. I'm just wondering, tell me a little bit more about the 6-foot and why it was chosen to be 6 and not perhaps something, as a buffering element, don't they get to use something higher?
You know what? That was just what was in the code.
Right.
That was what was spelled out in the code. My guess is that 6-foot fence, anything higher,
Right.
would require the planning commission to come back to.
Right.
The zoning administrator can approve up to 8 feet tall when it is abutting a residential zone, but, you know, at the time when the subdivision went in, that was one of the requirements, was a 6-foot fence.
Yeah, no worries. I just wanted to know if it was the default or if there was a particular reason.
Default.
And then I am concerned about the language in 9, where it says, or other additional items. It seems really broad for me. I would say that maybe we should be considering at the approval stage something more targeted.
Can we please go to that on screen?
Well, I'm jumping the gun, frankly. I ought to be waiting for this till later.
Okay.
But
Well, you mentioned it, so let's do it.
so it reads as any pet waste, garbage, and other, or additional items created by way of conducting business shall be removed nightly. The or additional items, I don't even know what that's supposed to be. So I would say something like pet waste, garbage, and other similar refuse.
Okay.
Anyways, I jumped the gun on that one. So more questions for staff, guys.
I do.
Go ahead.
So back to your fence, I saw number 10 in the email planners. where it talks about the fence, and it says that the Hounds town requires an 8-foot fence, but back to the city is 6. And in there it says, eliminate, if we can go to that, let's see, number 10.
So I'm going down.
It's under the email planner, so I don't know if it's this one. No, go down.
Exhibit.
Oh, right
Keep
there.
going.
Exhibit E.
Right there, number 10. So the Hounds town requires the 8-foot, and then, so anyway, it says, so it looks like we'll have to eliminate that. Who is speaking? Who is speaking when it's not, no, sorry, not yet.
So with that, the number 10, that was my communication with the applicant at the time. And what I was letting them know was, hey, we can only allow for up to 6 feet tall. And then they came back and said, for like an outdoor play area for the dogs, they need to have at least 8 feet tall. So what they were saying was, okay, we're fine with the 6 foot, we'll just eliminate that outdoor play area because we could not accommodate an 8 feet tall one.
We cannot accommodate an 8-foot.
Why can we
We're
not
saying we.
business.
One at a time, guys, for the record.
So, okay, so I'll ask again, or to clarify. I know you want to talk. I know you have good things to say, but not soon. We cannot accommodate it, or they cannot? The
If they
lease
do,
or the lease?
if they do come back, so if they want to have an 8 feet tall fence, there is an additional application that is required for it.
Okay.
They have to get a height variance for this, and then at that time, that is what they would have to do. So currently, right now, no, they cannot get that. If they want to come back and get one, then they can come back and get one.
They have to apply for it,
Yes.
Okay, that is helpful to me.
and that will give them more.
Can I jump in on that one point?
Yes.
So I was just thinking and looking it up. If it's used as a buffering element, the zoning administrator can approve it as a permitted use.
Is it so, and which is kind of what I hinted at the beginning.
But not on the sides.
So that's where it's abutting, it's not technically a residential property. So
Got it.
even though I am noting in here, hey, the buffering element is a 6 foot tall, we don't buffer between like the city boundaries and another adjacent property. So technically, the zoning administrator cannot administer that.
Got it.
It's a little bit complicated, so thanks for asking those questions and teasing it out.
Macy, could I get a clarification on one thing? Now, is Houndstown leasing the entire building? Okay, so it's the entire building.
Yes.
Because you get a little, as a tenant, you have one issue, a problem, versus being the owner and being able to do certain things. Tenants have a little different problem.
Well, they are not the property owners, but they are the only business in that
Yes,
building.
Okay. Additional questions?
but we don't have the property owner here.
No.
Okay, all right. So, go ahead.
Just a logistical question, is the current use for that building defunct? Like, is there not currently a tenant, or is there a tenant currently in the building?
There is not currently a tenant.
They can't. Do we have a map of the current property?
Yeah, there is in the.
Yeah, I just want to pull it up.
Do you want me to pull it up like an aerial or like a Google?
They did include a floor plan, I think.
Do
In
you
their
want
package.
like a visual of the property, or do you want like a Google?
Google Street, if
Okay.
possible. I did a little research, but I just want to see it. Drove by it, but I just want to make sure I have it right. How long has it been vacant?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Maybe that's not irrelevant. Okay, that's what I was thinking.
What's
That one, behind the
One
semi.
behind the truck.
So many semis
That
are-
That works well, doesn't it? Okay,
Very industrial.
yeah,
Okay.
Residential. Thank you.
You said,
Okay, let's move it forward in the process. So this is where the applicant can come up to the podium. Who's going to speak today? Excellent. So if you'll come up to the podium, state your name and your role, and then I want to explain a little bit about the conditional process and the decisions.
Okay.
So go ahead.
My name is Jada Geddes, and I will be the owner.
Excellent. Welcome, Jada. This is exciting. Conditional uses are here to decide whether or not there's any detrimental impacts and whether or not they can be substantially mitigated. You don't have to convince us that whether or not this is a good idea. I think most of our questions are going to be localized on any sound, odor, those kind of things.
Okay.
So, but before we ask you questions, what would you like to tell us about the business?
So Houndstown is a fully interactive doggy daycare and boarding facility that will offer our community pups opportunity to interact in a structured natural pack environment where instead of just all being in one play group like a lot of the competitors, they will be separated into different play groups based on size, temperament, and energy levels. And this naturally creates a calmer environment, a quieter environment, and also prioritizes the safety of the dogs. And yeah.
Okay. Who has questions for the applicant? I've got some I can start with. You guys are okay with that?
No, I have a list.
I know. So you heard us talk about the 6-foot fence and the conversations that you had earlier. It sounds like, I was reading through the packet, and further down in the presentation materials, it talked about how this was intended to be an indoor-outdoor. What's the status on that?
So we have the option with the franchise, we have the option for an outdoor play area, but we are not planning on having an outdoor area just because in Utah with the weather, it wouldn't
Not conducive.
work very well. Yeah, we
Okay.
couldn't have the dogs out there for long periods of time in the extreme heat and the extreme cold. And it would also, it's hard with the neighboring properties. It'd be difficult to keep the noise down out there. So, yeah, I don't think we're gonna do an outdoor.
Yeah, that 8-foot fence is strictly as a safety
So,
measure.
hold on, pause. Because we have to keep everything on the record, it doesn't pick up very well. If you want to come and talk at the podium and say your name and your role.
Yeah, I'm Alex. I'm just stepdad, helping them go through this process. The 8-foot fence is just strictly there as a safety precaution for animals, so they can't get up on top of it. When the city came back and said that, the 6-foot was a limit, it was very easy to say, well, we just don't need to have this anyway. So, that's it.
And the franchise is okay with you not doing an outdoor park?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, you certainly have options. If you want to come back and ask for an 8-foot fence, as you heard, you've got options. And then the waste and, kind of odors that could potentially come from this, and then also pests that could be drawn to the area because of waste. Tell us about how that's managed.
Yeah, so waste management is a top priority with the franchise, so we will have strict protocols in place for cleanliness and also noise. So waste will be picked up immediately throughout the day, so it won't be left to accumulate and sit, which would attract pests. And it is put into leak-proof, sealed, it's bagged and then put into leak-proof, sealed containers, lined containers, in designated areas away from public access. And then it will be picked up by commercial waste disposal regularly. I think most franchises do once to twice a week, but that's also flexible if we run into problems or there's concerns that can definitely be increased.
And that's not a problem. What I wanted to get at is one of the conditions that we've been presented with as an option is to compel you to have it removed nightly. How feasible is that?
We would have to talk to the franchise about that, I think. But
Sorry, I think personally, we could make that happen. It's just a matter of bagging it and removing it off the site.
Yeah, but where would you put it? Because if you just remove it and take it home, that just puts the pest problem somewhere else, right?
We're in talks with the sewer district. We'd have a chat with them to see what they want. If you guys make a suggestion on that, we can look at that as well.
Right. Our role here is just to identify it and then find out if it's possible to mitigate. We're not here to tell you how to do it, if that makes sense. I just want to make sure that we're identifying things, because if you read in the packet, one of the conditions that is suggested for us to consider is nightly removal. I just don't know exactly how that would work. I was concerned, frankly, that I don't know if nightly removal makes sense. If you're just bagging it and taking it to your home and waiting for somebody to come pick it up every week, that just moves the pest problem somewhere else. So it sounds like you've got it in leak-proof containers, it's bagged. Tell me about the weekly or bi-weekly removal. Where do they take it? How do they take it?
Just the commercial dumpster.
Okay.
With all the other franchisees and locations, that's been sufficient. If that's not for this, then we can look at other options as well.
Can I ask how many dogs do you intend to have?
most locations, new locations start with less than 10, and then the higher performing ones, usually around 30 to 40, I think is what they said. Sometimes when they have like events, sometimes they get up to 100, but not all at one time, just like
Wow.
throughout the day as a total.
Okay, thank you.
Additional questions?
Yeah. Just to make a comment following up on what you said, to me, daily seems unreasonable. Like how,
I just don't think that's possible.
I don't know how
I
that,
wish.
I don't know how that could be accomplished at all.
And we have garbage pickup once a week.
Yeah, optimally, yes, but if it's, like you talked about, bagged and then,
You don't want to take it home to your house.
One commissioner at a time, guys.
Sorry.
but then if you're bagging it and then you're putting it inside another bag, right? Prior to it going out to the dumpster, so essentially it's double bagged?
Yes.
Am I clear on that?
Yes.
Is that
I believe so,
accurate?
yeah.
In a container, yes.
In a container?
Bagged and contained, yes.
So it's bagged and then contained,
Yes.
and then that container is put in the
Yes.
trash, right? Okay. I did have a question about the quantity of animals. She asked that, you answered it. And do you have, you're not, from what I read, you're not necessarily kenneling overnight. It's more of a doggy daycare? Is
We
that
will have
accurate?
boarding.
You will have some
They're-
boarding?
They will be like rooms, not kennels. And I think that in the beginning isn't gonna get filled.
It's
But-
like an overnight suite type deal. One of the things they've identified is kenneling dogs and other animals. They don't like it. And so they try to create a more comfortable environment for them. Is the option to stay overnight available? Yes. Is it utilized that often? Not very often.
So you have adequate space? I mean, is this in your contract? You have to have so much space per?
Yeah. Yeah.
When you
It'll be
say-
built out as an additional play area or area in the building.
Sorry, when you say other animals, are you intending to have other animals, or are we just focusing on dogs?
We will possibly do cat boarding. We're still,
But dogs, cats?
yes,
Strictly to the, okay.
dogs and
thank you.
cats.
Thank you for that clarification.
Are you also going to be providing interior, and I know this has nothing to do with this, but I'm still asking it anyway. You know I am, using my right to ask. So, interior cameras for owners?
Yes. They won't be live, and because they've found that can cause problems, like people calling constantly, like, why is my dog not playing? Why is my dog resting? And so then we would have to have an additional employee to be at the front by the phone.
Channeling that.
Yeah. So we will have cameras, and if there are incidents, we will be able to review those, but it won't be live streamed for people,
Okay.
or for customers.
The update portion of that will be, they post pictures of the animals on a Facebook page, or whatever social media page it is. We take our dog to the one in Vegas quite a bit. It's pretty funny to see her just have a great time, but.
John? Okay. All right, so thank you for answering that. So if you're not going to have an outdoor play area, are you going to, I mean, there's probably no need, but I'm going to ask the question anyway. Are you going to have any sort of lights installed out there? I'm just worried about light pollution to anybody around you. Like if you choose to have an outdoor area later?
I don't know.
No, I think business hours or, what time do they open and close?
It'll be 7 to 7.
7 to
That might be
7?
adjusted based on the community
I'm
and,
just trying to think of the other locations we've been to, and nobody
I
has
haven't
outdoor
seen-
lighting other
yeah.
than parking lot lights.
Any other locations you've been to have about 30 animals at a time?
yeah, the Denver location is.
Okay, so not 100.
No, I've never been to one that has 100.
Okay, so about 30 on average.
Yeah, that's also years after they've been open.
Cool.
Those ones have been open for 2 to 3 years.
Once they're established.
Yeah, the ones that have been open for a year or under have
15
like
to 20.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I'm done with my questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
What
you.
else, guys?
I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I do want to ask one more time on this vein of how many potential animals you'll have on site. Do you have a planned capacity?
Yes.
In terms of what's going to be built at your site? How much would that be?
They gave me an equation, now I'm gonna have to find it. But there's a certain square foot requirement per animal. And I believe based on this building of approximately, 4,600 square feet?
I think it's closer to 6,000.
Oh, is it? There is a limitation. You can't just jam a bunch of dogs and just keep them coming. That's not very good for anybody.
And you strictly want to do dogs, correct? Or does it matter?
Yeah, dogs, and then we'll offer cat boarding, but I don't think that other
It'll be-
locations with cat boarding get cats often. It's just, it doesn't take up much room because they just need like a cat tree, one of those little cage cat trees, and that doesn't take up much
Whereas
space.
dogs have kennels and whatnot.
Yeah, so then just the community has the option, if someone doesn't like, or doesn't have someone to come watch their cat for them, they can board them. But I don't think that'll be utilized very often. I think cats are so easy, people don't really have the need for the cat boarding. But there are some locations that have regular cats.
Let me find that and I'll get back to you on that.
Okay, while you're looking for that, one other question, kind of along that vein. A note that was made in the staff report was regarding traffic, how many cars you might be seeing. It didn't give an exact number, and I'm just curious if either Houndstown or yourselves have an idea of about how many daily visitations are you expecting?
It just depends on how many dogs we're having come in, but the traffic shouldn't be an issue because it's just pick up or drop off and pick up, and those times are staggered. So it's kind of similar to like a human daycare where they're just going in, dropping off, coming, picking up, and I don't think it'll contribute to the traffic too much.
I think the main reason for my question there is just recognizing some of the constraints to get to the freeway on that west side. A lot of those folks will be coming through Parish Lane. And so particularly if we're seeing a lot that are coming during that commuting time period, 7 to 9 a.m. or 4 to 6 p.m., when you'd be seeing that typical drop-off and pick-up right before and after work. That's more where that question's coming from is,
Yeah.
are we going to be worrying about that potentially adding to folks that are going to and from the freeway along this west side?
I don't think it will be.
I don't believe so. In our experience as people that have gone and utilized other locations, we haven't seen any backup or traffic problems. as it is very staggered, unlike going to like an elementary school where you're just stuck in a big line and going crazy.
You're not expecting you're gonna have, you know,
No.
all 30 pets dropped off between 7 and 8? or
There's no
whatever it
set
is.
time.
Okay.
You know, if someone wants to go to yoga, bring their dog over, have at it at noon or whatever. So, no, there's not any issues like that. Back to the occupancy, this gives the example of a 6,000 square foot building, minus 1,000 of unusable space. So the equation is 45 square feet per, and that gives 112 max capacity.
Wow.
Okay.
I don't anticipate that happening as people are taking and dropping off continually through the day. She's more familiar with what's actually going to be in there. As far as our dog is concerned, I've never seen crazy amounts of dogs everywhere.
And based on the drawings that we're seeing in some of these slides in the packet, it seems like you have to have dedicated kennel space, so that also limits how many you could have at any given time, and you kind of have to plan
Correct.
ahead for those numbers.
I think that's part of the 1,000 square feet of unusable.
How many kennels do you have?
I think for that space, they said around,
The design on it hasn't been finished because we don't have a lease in place yet.
Okay,
It's just contingent upon this approval.
okay.
The ones we've been to have about 8, is it 8 to 10?
wait,
Oh, that's
boarding rooms?
Yeah.
No,
No?
it's around, for this size, it would be around
30?
35.
Oh, 35.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, about 35 to 40?
Hey, look at
Okay.
that.
Yeah, that's what we were seeing in the sample. That's the,
Yeah.
Yeah, she knows what she's doing.
Oh, that's it down.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions about detrimental conditions?
Nope. Make a motion?
Okay, I'll bring it back to the commission. We're going to deliberate and maybe ask some questions of staff. So, oh, and we'll also open it up to the public. Sorry, we'll do that first. Go ahead and have a seat. Thank you.
Thank you.
So if any members of the public have any comments, come to the podium.
Only guy here, Kyle Green, Centerville resident. Think it's a great idea to have somewhere local for local dogs to go. I think most of the concerns that I would address as a neighbor would be noise and smell, and I think they've adequately described how they deal with that. I was interested in, as a general contractor, listening to somebody, this is a great use of space, especially in that area of town. A good way to help with revenue in the city as well. I think it's probably long overdue that we have something like this in our community. I appreciate the thoroughness of the planning commission going into those questions and concerns. And animal health, I think when you address the one thing at the very beginning about other items, I would imagine that'd be things like that they're using for pet care, bandages or something like that if necessary. But I think it sounds like a pretty good idea. I think we've got dogs. I've never liked the idea of the traditional boarding kennel where you just go put them in a chain link box and a cement floor. This sounds like a lot better option. So there you go.
Thank you,
Now
sir.
you at least have one public comment.
Oh, thank you, Kyle.
Perfect, thanks.
All right, any other members of the public? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing and bring it back to the planning commission. I just had a question, Sydney, for you. The nightly seems like a reasonable suggestion. I'm curious if you had, what was your thought process on the nightly and whether or not, if we went bi-weekly or weekly, what are your thoughts there?
So I don't think I articulated myself very well apparently in this, because any pet waste removed nightly and then garbage or additional items created, I was thinking more like, let's say there's a chewed up dog toy in the front yard, or there is a leash. We have a similar type of business that is located right next door to the Public Works building, and these were actually some of their conditions, so I ripped off of some of their conditions.
No worries.
And
So you're thinking more like removed nightly is that it's collected together and picked up?
Put inside.
Put
yes,
inside.
contained inside.
I see.
So I don't walk on the grass.
Yes.
and
Oh, I see
step
what
in
you're saying.
anything.
So, yeah, you just didn't want dog waste left on the property around, yeah. They need to clean up after the dogs every day.
The ideal.
Perfect, yeah, that's a way different thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, and my approach came from the framework of having, I went through an incident where an individual who was housing pigs was creating, rat infestations and cockroach infestations in the city, in the residential area. And so I just want to make sure that the pet waste is contained, and it sounds like they've done a pretty good job of articulating that. I just wanted to make sure that, and I like your perspective, I hadn't thought of it that way.
Yeah, that makes sense, though, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So my other question is to staff, and maybe this is for you, Lisa. Number 3, it talks about applicable local, state, and federal rules concerning conditional use permits and kennel regulation. I just want to also make sure, do you feel like that's enough to say that they're going to be abiding by nuisance ordinances? Because I think that so long as they're in compliance with nuisance ordinances, they ought to be in compliance with any noise or odor problems.
Yeah, I think you would want to add that,
Okay,
because I think local, state, and federal rules is modified by conditional use permit and kennel regulation.
agreed. And so I would say we ought to articulate, why don't, yeah.
Order.
Well, I'm going to just modify this, shall obey all applicable local, state, and federal rules, as well as, and regulations, especially concerning conditional use permits, kennel regulation, and nuisances. Something like that, something to think of. I also wonder, and Sydney, this is back for you, I do want to make sure that they do not attract pests. And this is, I had an experience like a couple of years ago. I was going through a McDonald's, and the dumpsters, you've seen it, where little things are coming in. I just want to make sure that they don't create conditions that attract pests. They're probably not going to anyways, but I think we ought to possibly articulate it.
How can we say that?
Well, just, they shall not create conditions or allow conditions that attract pests, is what I was thinking. I was thinking down in between 11.
So just add 11?
No, well, sorry, in between what would become 11. So after 9,
After
the business shall not create or allow conditions that attract pests.
Can we do that with chickens
Waste.
too?
Yes.
I'm sorry, but.
Can you imagine a
Say that
chicken
one more time.
boarding house?
Yeah, let's do
Well,
it.
actually, isn't that just a chicken farm?
Let's forget
It's a
that.
chicken coop in my backyard
In
that
line with
attracts
McDonald's. Oh.
Okay.
animals.
Go ahead, finish that.
So anyways, that's our discussion. We have to allow the applicant to respond, but what other questions for staff do you guys have?
I don't know that it's a question for staff. It just it's a follow-up on number 9. Now that we understand what she meant, the verbiage needs to be changed on that.
We can,
Who meant?
yeah, we should
We'll
work
do
on
that in a minute. Okay.
Mason, aren't we just talking about on that one? And I think Sydney articulated it, is the thing, if there's anything outside, but even bagging in waste items inside double containers and putting it out into the dumpsters on a daily basis, is that what we're looking at?
As I understand it, that's what I think was intended. And
Yeah.
from what the applicant told us, it sounds like that's going to be met.
And then I think with the others, if we're looking at odors and nuisances, I mean, that will become apparent over time, but hopefully that doesn't happen.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's picked up weekly.
Sounds like it. That was what we heard. So any other questions for staff? So I want to allow you an opportunity to respond either to the public comments or any of the questions that we've had with staff. As an applicant, you have a right to do that, because once we move into deliberations, that's just for us to deliberate about. Do you have anything else you want to tell us, clarify, et cetera?
Well, I want to say thank you for sharing your opinions on it. And thank you guys for your time and consideration. I just want to reiterate that waste management and cleanliness is one of our top priorities. So I don't foresee that being an issue. And because it's one of our top priorities, we are happy to make any changes that we need to make if our protocols that we are given through the franchise aren't working. Yeah.
Can I ask you, so with a focus on the framework of being, as soon as the, waste is on the ground, what are your company's, franchise's protocols?
So we have people monitoring at all times, and the protocol is to immediately go in and clean it up because it eliminates odors and keeps it hygienic and also prevents the dogs from running through it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And that includes
home
bagging
nasty.
and then a leak-proof container?
Yes.
And then where do the leak-proof containers go over the week?
I think in the dumpster?
Yeah,
There should be a dumpster there somewhere.
So go outside to a dumpster?
Yes.
and picked up once a week.
Yes.
Okay, excellent, thank you.
So my question then is, if you notice, because we have hot summers, you had mentioned Vegas before, so obviously they've figured out some way to mitigate the nasty odors in the heat. I just know what happens at my house, right? When it gets hotter, then blah. So if anything were to happen with that and you started noticing, would you make changes?
Yes, yeah, definitely. That's the good thing, the nice thing about it being a franchise is they have over 100 locations now, I think, all over the country. So, I mean, they have experience with that, like the high temperatures in Vegas, and they know, they don't have complaints from tenants around them.
Yeah, and your
They're
plants.
actually, I mean, the Vegas location is known for smelling really good. Yeah. Oh, yeah, there's multiple Vegas locations, and the ones we've been to smell really good, which is
There's your dumpster.
impressive for any animal-related business.
Okay. I see the dumpster right there.
Yeah.
Is that a home right behind it?
Yes,
That looks like
that's West
it's
Bountiful.
like a condo.
Mind you,
So,
this was back in 2019, just to keep that in mind, so I don't know if that is the exact location of the dumpster.
do you know where the trash can is now?
I'm not sure, do you?
Probably back.
I'm asking because if there's a way to move it away from the neighbor,
I definitely think
I
that,
think that that would be a better idea.
I don't know what the rules and governance on that is.
Yeah, I don't know.
but
The sewer has to
there
pick it up in the back.
is- On the south side of the building, it is a loading dock. I don't know if it can be put on this side
Can't be
of
put on
it
the street.
or not. I don't know the rules around that type of stuff.
He has to stay there.
Between the doors.
Yeah, I'm just wondering closer if it could be, between the doors on the building.
Well, I don't want to micromanage too much. I think that we just need to put a condition that they don't create a nuisance for the neighbors.
Right.
100%.
Just things to think about.
Okay, so, thank you so much.
thank you.
We're going to now take it to the commission. We've kind of deliberated along the way. I have some ideas about how to modify the motion. Does anybody else want to give it a shot? Shall I? What do you guys
No,
want to
I
do?
want to fix 9 first.
Okay, how
before
do you want to
there's a
fix
motion
9?
made. Well,
Yeah,
okay, so when she was talking about the cleanup of things, whatever the things are, so how about something like daily perimeter cleared of pet debris or something? Because you're talking about daily cleaning, and I hope I'm on the same page, right? Just sort of, I don't know how else you'd say it.
I
In
would
my
say
mind, it would be,
immediately. I
daily
don't think they
perimeter.
would-
Because they're not gonna, if somebody leaves, they're not gonna immediately know that there's a leash out there. Or somebody dropped a collar, they're
Well,
not
they're
gonna
in a
know that,
kennel.
but they can do a daily sweep before the business
Sure.
closes.
But like in
So-
the evenings or in the kennel.
Right, but I'm just suggesting that we add or change the verbiage on 9, because as currently stated, it is not clear
I can
to
see
what
that.
we discussed.
Okay. so
Mason,
any pet
go.
waste.
well, I'm thinking.
Okay,
Give him a minute, he's got to think. Any pet waste, garbage, or additional areas shall be removed nightly. How about,
Got something that-
Lisa?
Yes, please.
So, any pet waste, garbage, or additional items created by way of conducting the business shall be cleaned up, I was gonna say nightly, but I like the daily, So shall be cleaned up daily and removed from the site weekly or bi-weekly as necessary. Pet waste shall be bagged and contained in a sealed, odor-controlled container while on site.
I love it 100%.
There you go, that's great.
Yeah, I wouldn't change a thing.
Just what we were ready to say.
That was really, really
That's
good.
so great. That's why she gets paid the big bucks.
Wow. I'm practicing with the edit while talking.
Got it, girl.
Yeah.
I like it. I
No,
like
that
it a lot.
sounded good.
Can we make a motion?
Well, and then you had the changes, I think,
Yeah,
the
so-
chair already has to 3. And if you, I don't know about the definition of kennel, because I thought kennel was limited to dogs. So maybe we should look up that definition. Otherwise, we would want to limit this to dogs and cats. I don't think we want to get into other.
Yeah.
Well, they're not
But
planning
I
to
think
have.
kennels are, well, let's look at the definition. It's been a while. And that the use shall not create or allow conditions that attract pests, sorry. And then dumpsters, I don't know if you want to say dumpsters shall be located as far away as possible from the residential uses
Yeah.
in terms, as,
There it is.
Control that, though.
as possible for storage and pickup. So we don't want to argue about what's as far away as possible, but
We can't control it.
feasible, I guess, in terms of where is it safe and where is it able for the truck to come in and,
Yes.
So it's already in the code.
that says that?
What, kennel or trash, what?
Well, we can't
kennel.
have the
The dumpster.
dumpsters. We have to have the dumpsters where the sewer, like where they'll pick it up.
Yeah,
Yes,
you
but we
have to have it
can,
where they'll,
but we can state.
Well, that's what I mean, as possible.
Right.
Due to, based
Right.
on
But it can't
storage
be on
and
the
pickup
street, so-
feasibility.
Right.
Sorry, I didn't see that definition.
Dogs,
Establishment of
just
3 or
like you
more
said.
dogs, okay, yeah.
Dogs.
So, sorry, you could do a text amendment.
Establishment, have
It does seem
Text
like a
amendment on
little-
number 3? Is that what?
only dogs.
No, I just mean, it says a kennel by use, we define it as dogs, we
We
don't
put 3 dogs in one kennel?
allow cats.
No, if you have 3 or more dogs, you have
It's
to get kennel license,
it's a cattle if it's,
even for your home.
it's not a kennel, it's a
But no
cattle.
cats.
Yes. Not a
Was
kennel.
just suggesting a text amendment.
so we don't need a restriction on dogs and cats because they're limited to dogs right now unless we put
Yeah.
a text amendment.
Okay. Interesting. An establishment means 3 or more dogs. Okay. Wow, this gets heavy.
All right, I'll start.
Go for it.
Okay,
Lisa, I'm going to incorporate by reference, so be ready. I hereby make a motion, let me get over to that. For the Planning Commission to approve the conditional use permit request from Alex Milne for a kennel business as located at parcel 06-196-0201, hereby known as Hounds Town, located at 1323 West 50 South, which shall be required to fulfill the following conditions of approval. 1, as in the staff report. 2, as in the staff report. 3, as read right now. The business operator shall obey all applicable local, state, federal rules and regulations, and this is new, comma, especially those, going back to what's in the original, concerning, and then new, nuisances, comma, and then going back to what's in the staff report, conditional use permits and kennel regulation. 4 is written in the staff report, 5 is written in the staff report, 6 is written, 7 as written, 8 as written, and then 9 completely stricken and replaced with,
Any pet waste, garbage, or additional items created by way of conducting the business shall be cleaned up daily and removed from the site weekly or bi-weekly as necessary. Pet waste shall be bagged and contained in a sealed, odor-controlled container while on site.
and then an additional condition 10, the business shall not create or allow conditions that attract pests. And then 10 in the staff report renumbered to 11. I have a
I love it.
Oh, I
have a
second it.
I second it.
I think she was first. Because the sound was closer, I don't know.
Good, doesn't matter to me.
Would you like to add the
We
final?
can paper, rock, scissors it.
Yes,
Second.
thank you.
Second it.
And then I have to say also, for the suggested reasons of action, A through C in the staff report. Thank you, Mr. Eggett.
Yes.
And so I have a motion and a second. Any further deliberation? Okay, start here.
Aye.
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 That's unanimous. So if that wasn't a mush and a mess, you can at least get clarifications in the minutes, but in essence, it's pretty much everything that is in the staff report with a few tweaks.
Best of luck.
So, yeah, I'm excited. This is cool.
So excited for you guys. When are you gonna open?
It depends on
Tomorrow.
Ish.
construction, how long construction takes, probably, I think most open 6 to 8 months after.
Oh, wow.
Oh, really?
Speed it up.
Okay, let's move forward.
Okay. Move
Awesome.
forward.
Thanks, you guys.
Number 2 on the agenda, public hearing on the zoning text amendments, deferral of public improvements.
Okay.
Who's leading out on us? Okay, Ms. Deweese, please.
So this was a little bit of a lengthy staff report, so I trust that you guys have read this. I'm going to leave it open for the planning commission for discussion. You will see in the staff report that staff has one stance on it, and then we have made a means of middle ground, trying to work with the applicant as well as being aware what has historically been hinted at, as well as what could potentially be hinted at in the future. Obviously, as staff, like, our goals genuinely are to help out the public. It's not a staff against the public. So when applicants come through, especially locals, we all try to accommodate them. So just keep that in mind with how the staff report is written and following discussions from this. So the background, the applicant Kyle Green has applied for a zoning code text amendment proposal to CMC 10.04.170 deferral of public improvements, specifically subsection F. This subsection identifies applicant requirements that need to be met for deferral agreements to qualify for consideration by the city council. In my staff report, I just kind of kept on going through this. All staff members really had hands in on this, going from the GIS department, legal, public works, engineering, and even police and fire. So it was an all hands on deck review of this. So the deferral of sidewalks is not the preferred outcome by staff. However, as part of evaluating the applicant's request, staff has explored whether an amendment to CMC 10.04.170 could serve some potential alternatives, and that is seen in Exhibit B. Just kidding, not Exhibit B. Then no. Thank you. I don't know how that one happened. Stating the general code requirements for the zoning text amendment per CZC 12.21.080 subsection E. Only the first factor really applies to the zoning code text amendment. This factor is whether the proposed zoning code or zoning map amendment is consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the general plan. So in the staff report, I hit on quite a few areas where it is supportive, where it can be seen as maybe not as supportive, but overall, both general plans really hit on safety, connectivity, and then as well as being sensitive to the neighborhood itself in a larger context. So something also to keep in mind, safety is not adverse to being aware of how the feeling of the neighborhood is, whereas in the staff report, it might seem like it can either be safe or it can either be the city neighborhood feeling can be recognized. And I think that really what we've been trying to do is find a middle ground and find a way to blend both of them. Historically significant areas actually allude to having walkability and having safety aspects to them, especially as Centerville is growing. We just want to keep that, just please keep that in mind when we are allowing for the option of deferring public improvements such as sidewalk installation. I'm going to, once again, just kind of let this be a discussion amongst the planning commission. If you have any questions, I think me, Lisa, and Mike will be willing to answer these questions, as well as our Public Works Director, Mike Carlson, who has joined us tonight to answer any questions that the planning commission might have. That's all.
And does he have any points that he wants to make as staff at this time? Seeing a negative shaking head, we're going to go with no.
And if we could, so if you can hear from the applicant, and maybe after that,
Yeah.
we, as staff, I wouldn't mind explaining the thoughts behind our very lengthy edits in response to that,
Yeah.
and why we went in that direction.
Okay. That is fine
Yep.
with me. So we will pivot to the applicant's phase. Welcome back. If you'll come to the microphone, state your name.
Kyle Green, Centerville City resident, in the neighborhood concerning this text amendment. You'll note in the text amendment, it was a very simple addition to the existing code that I requested. Sorry, I've got all these different documents here. But basically, in section F, it allowed the city code in this particular section already allowed for deferrals on certain types of properties, namely single-family homes or developments, but not subdivisions. Now, as this discussion has taken many years on subdivisions, it was set in place to prevent somebody from coming in like an Ivory Homes or a Brighton Homes and doing a massive subdivision without sidewalks. In this particular case, there was a property in our neighborhood that kind of sparked this debate again for our neighborhood, and I drew the short straw being the presenter to take this to the council and see if we can do something. Generally, my methodology is to take the calm, cool, collected route before we get pitchforks and torches. And so that's why I presented this text amendment. Now, that text amendment was a simple modification to allow for minor subdivisions of 2 lots or less in a residential low zoned neighborhood. This was after some discussion with staff and others about how do we mitigate this kind of weird area where in my neighborhood we have parcels of ground that are 0.4 acres, which historically would not have been divided into 2 because they were too small, but with changes of code and other things, we can now have a lot that's 0.18 or 0.2 or whatever it is. And so all of a sudden you've got these small pieces of ground in neighborhoods that were previously kind of a 1-lot option that are now 2-lot options. In this particular circumstance, the property that brought it to my attention is on 200 North, and I believe it's at 600 East, if I remember that's the correct address. You want to pull that up, Sydney? A family, this was a piece of ground that was owned by a family that owned a bunch of property on 200 North. The mother passed away, and the ground was then given to the kids and held for several years. It was been used as a neighborhood garden for years until they sold it recently to a family that would like to build 2 homes on it. The curiosity of it is that in doing that, it becomes a subdivision. And the request of the city is to put in the improvements with a subdivision, including a sidewalk. In our particular area, there are no sidewalks anywhere near to this property. So we would literally have a corner sidewalk to nowhere. One end would dead end into a rock retaining wall, the other end dead ends into a tree. So you would have a section of sidewalk that is relatively unusable and actually presents some safety concerns in and of itself, as people are having to climb over the curb, go across the park strip to enter the sidewalk, to walk a little ways, to then walk over the park strip, off the curb and back into the road. It creates a bit of a weird dilemma. So the request was not to rubber stamp or give any other option other than to allow an applicant in this specific circumstance to plead their case before the city council for a deferral. That was the initial intent of my text amendment. In speaking with staff and going through many levels of this and doing much research, going back to having lived in this neighborhood for over 40 years, back to when they did the initial special improvement district, went through the notes of the 1992, 1993 discussions on this, when it was changed from just asphalt roads and dirt roads to asphalt with curb and gutter. But at that time, sidewalks were suggested or were wanted by the city, and I think still would be wanted by the city, but at that time, they were not put in as part of the special improvement district. Not that that was, I think that was the easiest methodology to move the project forward at that time. At that point in time, only 17% of the affected residents said they would be open to the idea of sidewalks if it was financially feasible and doable. As going through those notes, and as noted in the staff report, at that time, they did not do the sidewalks, and much of the landscaping that was put back in actually crosses across those easement plains with retaining walls and other things, some of which are actually large boulder walls, trees, and many other things that would be pretty cost prohibitive to change to put sidewalk in at this time. After talking with staff and going through it, I am in favor of the middle ground that has been discussed. I mean, I felt like my text amendment was pretty simplified. I think it is being used as an opportunity to clarify a lot of code that has been a bit ambiguous, and also to make some adjustments to this section to better prepare applicants for their deferral, but also in the event that the city calls their deferral and says, hey, it's time to put them in, that they're more prepared when they've built their home for that improvement later. Yeah. So that instead of putting retaining walls on it, instead of putting weird slope driveways in, that those driveways are being built with the sidewalk already placed in the driveway section, so it's ready to continue at any given time. I think staff has done a great job. I think Lisa has done a very good job of studying through it and coming up with some options. I think one of the biggest ones that I think is a huge win for the city on this, if it goes with the secondary option, is there is a change in 10.04170, Section A. It says request for deferral in limited circumstances. Upon request of an applicant, the city may defer or waive. They're scratching or waive. I think this is big because before the city council could waive the need to put those improvements in, and at a later date and time that would cause an issue. I think this has been very well thought through. I've read through it multiple times. I feel like it fits the spirit of the idea of giving citizens, especially in older parts of Centerville, the opportunity to petition for a deferral, not rubber stamp them. I think it still gives the city a lot of strength and power to be able to say, yeah, this doesn't make sense to give a deferral in this case. I know that Lisa, when we've discussed this, we came across quite a few things in there that were like, wait, it says what? And I think we've really come to a pretty solid middle ground and a scenario that helps old Centerville stay old Centerville, helps people that want to build homes in these older parts maintain the feel of the neighborhood. That's one of the biggest concerns with my fellow neighbors, is that we have a neighborhood that's set up one way, and then all of a sudden we're just going to have this one piece of sidewalk in the middle. And it kind of prevents having that hopscotch. 100 South is a prime example. I don't know if you can pull up an aerial view really quick, any of that. But you literally have one house with sidewalk, no sidewalk, house with sidewalk, no sidewalk, house with sidewalk, no sidewalk, power pole.
100%.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
If we have an overlay on our GIS, oh, sorry, no, just click that same map, go back to that map, and then just click sidewalks.
Yeah.
I think
Then it shows you, the red is where there are no sidewalks. And
so maybe
see the
that Center
sidewalk.
Street, maybe it's on Center Street that does that.
Wow, that's a lot.
First South too.
But you can see kind of the,
Yeah,
so
right
I think
there.
staff has recommended a mapped overlay area that would be eligible. The rest of the city would not be. to even be considered for a deferral. Again, my purpose in this was not to create a rubber stamp that just says, oh yeah, you go ahead and just build without sidewalks. I think that sidewalks do have a very important part in the neighborhood, but there are certain areas where common sense would say that doesn't make much sense to put one there. And so that's kind of the idea behind it. If there's any questions that the commission has that they'd like to ask me about it, I don't really have a dog in this fight. It's not my property, other than our neighborhood generally has a consensus and feel much like the 1990s, early 90s of, do we really need them? And is it going to create more havoc setting it up that way? And what's the purpose of having sidewalks to nowhere? Is kind of the general consensus. And I think generally, if we're being honest, the fear that the city would say, well, if there's this one here on this corner, then everybody else has to put it in. And have to tear out their landscaping and other things at this point in time would be very cost prohibitive to especially a lot of our older residents in our neighborhood who were here during the 90s that already thought this was kind of settled for them. So that's me drawing the short straw. I'm happy to take any questions, concerns, or comments.
I have a question for you, Kyle.
Sure.
You were talking about a specific address.
Yes.
I don't know that you were able to find it, were you?
Yeah.
I want to see exactly what you're speaking of, the sidewalk
That's
to
right there on
nowhere.
Fairview Road, 200 North, and 600 East.
Yeah, I drove by it. There's,
So right here.
Oh,
Yep.
This
That
one right
This
here.
one?
it
Yep,
literally
right
goes
there.
to nowhere.
If you go to the street view of that's probably a better option
okay,
to see kind of what we're looking at there.
It just stops.
there it is.
Yeah, no sidewalk, no.
Oh, they have no sidewalk down
Other
there. We won't talk about the little subdivision going in on
No, I
Parrish
drove
and
by this. There's no
Fourth
sidewalk.
East.
Yeah.
Yeah, no sidewalk, right.
So there's currently no sidewalk in the neighborhood, but if you go down around the corner to where the white car is,
Oh,
Way
okay.
down there.
Yeah, yeah,
so turn this, so it's this, and take a left.
there we are.
If you go down, the next property that this would run into
Oh, okay,
is elevated above street level, and these are all major rock retaining walls that are 3 to 4 feet
Very
above grade
expensive.
of where you'd put a sidewalk in. And it basically continues through the entire neighborhood this way. There's a rock retaining wall that was placed. And in many cases, these retaining walls were actually paid for by the city at the time of the
Oh.
special improvement district.
okay.
And in the notes, you can go back through the historical notes and minutes. There, it talks about setting those retaining walls starting up at 2 feet back of curb for snow removal, which clearly sidewalks start at 2 feet or more, sometimes 4 feet back of curb.
Yep.
And then you have a 4-foot sidewalk or 3-foot sidewalk depending upon the time it was built. And then you start your retaining behind that. So there would be, in this particular neighborhood, if you turn Sydney and go west, you can see here this fence line runs right on as well, straight down. All these trees down here would run
Yeah,
right where the
all those
sidewalk
trees.
is. I mean, you're talking major issues. Right there to the right, if you will see that home right there is the Carlson home. It currently has a deferral agreement
Okay,
for a sidewalk on that one. If you go up, the one that had the white car in the driveway also has a deferral agreement. There are several other properties in the neighborhood in this particular block. You have the Cares, the Fishers, the Arbuckles, and several others just within basically a 1-block, 2-block radius that have already been granted deferrals because of these similar reasons. But at those times, those were either renovations or single home development, not a minor subdivision or subdivision of 2 lots. So again, now there is sidewalk up on 7th East that is abutted directly to
right.
the, and this was put in by Royce Allen when he built his home. I don't remember exactly what year, but it was back in like 1970 something. And he actually had to put in that road. And that's why at the top of Parrish Lane, there's that crazy like hairpin turn right at the top. It's because his road adapted into the city road there. Those were both dirt roads prior to his development. Yeah, so there you go.
Thank
Any
you.
other historical context I'm willing to give? Really, the gist of it is just to present the city council with the opportunity to hear circumstances instead of having their hands tied. And, then they ultimately, with the approval of the city council on recommendation of staff and the planning commission, those decisions can be made on a one-on-one or per application basis as opposed to just this is a historical district, sidewalks aren't required, but it gives a little bit of leeway without opening up Pandora's box, is the hope of this text amendment.
Thank you,
Mr.
Kyle.
Green.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll take it, we'll open up the public hearing. So I'll open the public hearing, and if anybody wants to come to the podium and provide comment, sorry, Mr. Green, you don't get to double dip. And you had said we hadn't received any comment? Okay. Seeing no.
I actually want to hear from staff.
Yeah, but I'm doing public right now. Yeah, we'll get there. So seeing nobody from the public, I'm going to close the public hearing, take it back to the commission for questions for staff. And I want to start, Lisa, with you, if that's okay. So I generally really disfavor deferrals for a lot of reasons. Help me understand how Centerville makes this work financially. Because I mean, some of these deferrals, if they just keep deferring, we're going to be into the 2300s before we need sidewalks here.
Right. So staff has historically recommended denial of all deferral requests that have come in the last few years. I can think of about 5 that Mike and I have dealt with. So staff's position is that the best time to get public improvements in is when development of the property occurs.
But why
That's
do you
actually our
offer
only
these
time.
deferrals?
That's our only trigger
Yeah.
to require them to build. Cities actually require the developer to build the public improvements, and then those are turned over to the city to take care of forever.
See that, but
So
Why
we
did all
actually
these
have the harder
families
part
get
of the
deferrals
deal.
then?
They build them when it goes in, and then we take care of it perpetually. So anyway, staff has, yes, we think that improvements should go in. 2 decades ago or so, the city used to require a city engineer estimate of the improvements to be deferred. So we would collect that money, the $1,200 for a sidewalk. And then 20 years later, the sidewalk was $10,000. So we stopped collecting the money because it was useless, and instead went with the deferral agreement that says, if and when we want this to go in, you have 6 to 12 months to put it in, or we will go ahead and put it in and just bill you. So it is very problematic, and there's an example in Farmington, what's that street? Anyway, it's the major street there. When the high school went in, Farmington said, we're gonna call on all these deferral agreements, and some of them were upwards of $50,000 on a single-family home that has been there forever. It was deferred from the beginning, and politically, it is a nightmare to call on these. And I think it is an extreme problem for future owners who didn't actually agree to this. You just bought this house, you understand it has this agreement, but you assume that's never gonna happen. The entire neighborhood doesn't have sidewalks. So, thank you for the question. Staff is opposed to these and thinks that the improvements should go in if and when the development occurs, because it's politically difficult and near impossible to call on these. I mean, we have called, and it's not just, this section of the code I want to highlight is not just sidewalks, and so we tried to kind of divide those out, because there's bigger issues with sidewalks. A lot of the times with other public improvements, like we've had water line deferrals on frontage road because it was so far away, and we thought, well, we'll bring it this way, but when it comes here, we want you to finish your section. We have called on those. And we have probably called on sidewalk ones, but they need to be probably sooner than 10 years, or it's very hard to have that expectation. But as you can see, there are some situations where, you know, with these deferral agreements, you have a property owner, and they're coming in and saying, look at my property, it makes no sense. I don't think we should put this in. But we always get those arguments. So on 200 South, near the Dual Creek, if you look at that map with the overlay, you will see pockets. So we have some streets that don't have any, but as these homes have redeveloped or, so yeah, like I think 100 South is a great example of, see how we're finally getting it in? Those,
Yeah.
if you can go out a little bit, but those three next to this park-ish area, you know, that was new development, and then another home kind of went in with a lot split, and then on 200 South, we've got a few in. So you can see this area did not historically have sidewalks, but over time, we have been able to get them, and this is how, you know, non-conforming areas become conforming over time. Probably 50 years from now, if we stick with the plan that we have, we will have a lot more sidewalks.
Right.
But there's, and our code already does acknowledge, though, that Centerville City may want to designate an area, like a historic area, where we just say sidewalks are not going to be required, because, you know, it was historically developed, it doesn't necessarily need to be installed, but as staff, when we looked at the map, or I guess for me, I would rather say, let's get a deferral than just say, you don't have to have one. The deferral gives us the argument in the future.
That we can have
I mean,
it.
there is a legal obligation, and if a council
Down the
wants to
road.
call on it legally, we can and should.
Okay.
This is the deal. You know,
Alright.
we're the public, and we're letting them defer it because it doesn't make sense now, but
But down the road, we could.
right, let's say a school goes in, or, you know, we're
100%.
ready to do a bigger street or something like that, and we could call on it.
But
So,
currently, as it stands, we don't need it.
yeah, so rather than saying, because that was really difficult for staff to say, okay, these two, we probably would have started with 2 streets. Okay, these 2 streets don't, and these 2 blocks don't need sidewalks. So the idea we came up with is, let's just designate this whole core area, like town site
As a deferral.
area, from Main Street, Porter to Parish, all the way up to the hillside, and say, this is the area where we will accept deferral requests.
Okay.
And so from staff's perspective, thank you, Sydney, so we, as staff, our GIS, worked with community development and the DRC team, and we talked about whether that really needs to go all the way up the hillside, but there's some persuasive arguments, particularly in the hillside, that sidewalks probably should only be required on one side of the street, because that's where you
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
it makes sense. So, but from staff's perspective, this is a bit of a compromise, you know, we feel like if the council is willing to say, okay, we're going to narrow the argument, you know, or the deferral debate down to this area, but the rest of the city, we won't have to deal with those issues. In the rest of the city, our policy is that
Yep.
sidewalks go.
Gotta have it.
I don't know that staff will be successful in that argument with the council, but this would be a significant win for staff to not have to worry about all these deferral agreements coming, and we're getting them more often. I mean, more and more often. It's mainly the sidewalk probably in this area, but, you know, these lots are getting subdivided.
100%.
And that was where we drew the line. In the previous code, that is not very old code that says, because we were tired of arguing about it, even with developers. Like, of course you have to put the sidewalk in,
Yeah.
you're developing,
Yeah.
and that's when it goes in. That's your responsibility. But then we're getting these,
With
you
that
know,
area.
somebody just doing a lot split. So it, you know, I think what the applicant is requesting is persuasive. I see, hey, it's just this, but like the city engineer was saying, yeah, but wait a minute. You know, we did try to analyze how many places in the city could they take advantage of this if we do the 2 lot minor subdivision?
Yep.
But then we also narrowed it down and said, it can't be on an arterial or a collector street, so you'll see here, this is such a great map. You can see that you're not gonna be allowed to do it on Porter or Parish or 400 East.
Yep.
See how that's a arterial?
It only affects
collector?
like the east side.
But it has to be 25 miles or less. We feel like that requirement, and Kyle might have thought of that idea, that requirement is, you know, it's safe enough, or, you know, if people are gonna have to walk in the streets, we want to limit it to our low mile per hour streets.
I love that.
So that was an idea, and then we were trying to talk about, well, what if it's near a church? There's lots of churches in this area. But as we did these buffers, like if you do 500 feet from a church or a school, you're gonna require sidewalks in a lot of this area, so we actually reduced
done.
that to 250 feet, which is about, shoot, I didn't bring my map. I had a bubble map on 250 feet, but it's like half a block, I think. But we did say, look, if you're that church or you're the school, you're the use that needs to put the sidewalks in, at least around your use. So, and you can see the church mainly has, yeah, on their frontage. There's it on the school's back property. So we talked about a lot at the staff level, and that, I guess that's what I would like to say in terms of these code amendments is, if we're going to open the door a crack, saying, okay, these lot splits don't have to put in, or they'll be eligible for deferral, we wanted to make sure that there were more guidelines for the council to make these decisions.
Wonderful.
So that that the exception didn't become the rule. And any two-lot subdivision anywhere in Centerville always got the deferral.
Yep.
Because that's been our experience historically, was most of the time when residents bring a request for a deferral, it's granted. But, you know, some of them make sense, I should say. I mean, they had to meet 4 criteria that were in our existing code, like there's no sidewalks adjacent and, you know, those types of things. So anyway, we just kind of put our laundry list here, our laundry wish list into this code. And I think we've hit most of them, but essentially what we added, to add those guardrails to cracking the door, but it's basically a doorstop. So the doorstop regulations require, well, our current code says it has to be a legal conforming lot or parcel. 4. This is H, required factors. So this is what you, in order to even apply, this is what you have to meet. I think we used to have 4 criteria, and now we have, well, more than that. Okay, so our previous code was a little confusing. I think staff read it in different ways, but our previous code said no street improvements existing on the same side of the street contiguous to the lot or parcel in one or both directions. But then it said unless otherwise approved by the council based on good cause.
Okay.
And we all know that standard.
Yeah.
Or, and this is the part, or the parcel is in an area of the city specifically designated where no sidewalks are required. So that's the way we dealt with it a long time ago when we knew this was a problem. And we said, yeah, let's put that on our list of things to do, but we never got around to it. So now we're saying no improvements, and I just said of the similar type requested for deferral exist on the same side of the street. So now we're being specific, just the same side of the street in one or both directions within 250 feet. Or the block, whichever is greater. And we went, I actually, when I first drafted it, I said 1,000 feet, and then we went to the bubble maps, and then I went to 500 and another, and it was, so anyway, right now it's just recommended at 250, and if you'd like to see that, how far 250, we could try to get that. But I think imagine each residential lot has about a 60-foot frontage.
Yep.
These double lots are going to be 120, so you're looking at 4 lots.
Okay.
About. That'd be 360.
All right.
And then here's Kyle's requested change. It's not within a recorded subdivision and is not being created as part of a new subdivision with the exception of a new minor residential subdivision consisting of 2 lots or less in the residential low zone.
Okay.
So again, limited to our RL. And then we came up with these other things just for sidewalks. So number 6, just for sidewalks. It must be in this map. Show them the beautiful map again.
Interesting.
This,
Has to be in that map. Okay.
and Mike put even more information on this map that we can show you. But I can let
It's
Sydney.
hard to,
Exhibit
Oh,
H.
that's right.
Thank you.
That's
I have
all right.
one more.
We understand. There, yeah. Oh, yeah, and I'll do this, and then you can talk about all these other, the legends on there. But it has to be in that area. It has to be on a residential, minor residential with 25 miles per hour or less, so that takes away 3 of the streets in there.
Oh, okay.
The lot or parcel cannot be located adjacent to a school, church, or park.
Okay,
So if you're right next door to a park or a church, we debated how far out we should go, but we just decided, well, if you're right next door, you should probably
It
continue.
has to have.
Because because the last one says if your primary use is a school, a church, or a park, you have to put it in.
Okay.
Question, is adjacent across the street?
No,
Oh.
well, no. I don't like to say immediately adjacent, but if that,
Okay, wait, what?
Is it like kitty corner? Is that what you mean?
yeah, because the street, so, yeah, adjacent to the subject parcel, so it's this one and this one.
Right, they share a boundary
Right.
without,
So not across the,
And I think it does say,
I don't like that.
the lot or parcel must not, oh, wait. Where was that one?
this is where,
Located adjacent to, yeah, so the lot or parcel must not be adjacent to. So if it's across the street, that's not adjacent. The
Oh.
street's adjacent.
that's what I figured. I just wanted to make sure I was clear
Want
on
me to
that.
state it on the
I mean,
record?
personally, I don't want to muck around in the draft. I think it's a really, really good draft. Personally, if it's across the street from a school, I want it to go in.
Yeah, I do too. I second.
Well, what we were trying, staff also thought, should we focus on, and this might be, we want an intern to do this project where we say, hey, in this area, let's look at where the most sidewalks are and at least get one side of the street. in
Yeah.
those
We need to get
areas,
two.
And start connecting those.
We deserve to.
But that got too complicated, and we did want to be responsive to this application, so we can tweak it further depending on what the council wants, but as staff, we felt like we needed to, that would take more dollars.
Yes.
I mean, we spent a lot of staff time on this, getting us where we are, but if they would like us to come up with that, hey, exempt these streets, or start targeting this side of the street, we're happy to look at that, but I think it would be more staff hours.
As commissioner, I would like it adjacent to the school, on both sides of the street.
Well, those two terms are in tension with each other. That's sort of what I was getting at.
Well, but she's saying that it's only touching the boundaries, and I'd like it adjacent, like across the street.
Yeah, adjacent isn't across the street.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
then,
So it's interesting,
Ridiculous.
if you look at a couple of these, let's see, where is the school? Let's look at a school.
And this may be, pretty much a moot point. There may not be
yeah, we don't have
any
the
situation
opportunity to
where
have
this
that.
happens.
Yeah, maybe.
I think perhaps the only area that I would think about in this case, and it's not necessarily around the idea of adjacency or across the street, but 200 East, as it approaches Centerville Elementary.
That's what I was thinking as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got a gap there.
Yep,
200
so-
East.
Isn't that 100?
Oh,
Now, 200 East, so
200
the
East.
backside of the
Yep.
elementary school.
But
but see, that one
Access to the
house,
elementary
Yeah, the
school.
that first house is adjacent, so it would have to go in right there.
So, but thinking also, the other side of that
Oh, I
I'm
see.
curious about is safe routes to school. What about 200 East as it approaches the school?
Yeah, and we do have safe routes to school, and I don't know where those are, but that would be a good comment. So that, as staff was thinking, this would be nice to say.
But I feel like there is a
Like, we need a new
safeguard.
green line that says, this is where we want the sidewalks.
that would be ideal, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But you could also say, hey, we want to go back to within 500 feet of the school. Within 500 feet of the school would get you across the street.
Yeah, that's, I don't know, but
If I have my bubble.
I'm just looking at the,
Because this is the school that we
I
walk to.
just
right.
Yeah,
love
right.
sidewalks for
Right.
kids.
I'm looking at First East, and there's that one red line across the street.
Yeah. Directly across.
Yeah, right there.
What other school, let's see,
Another part of the code.
which, Mr. Green, will you come back to the podium?
So, I've spent a lot of time on this because I knew these were gonna be questions.
Right.
So, in examples like on 200 East where there's that little bit of red line,
Yeah.
in the current code, it's already covered as a property that is contiguous to an existing sidewalk. They would not be eligible for a deferral. So there's current code that already takes into account
True.
those pieces
With
of
the-
ground that are already like that. where they're contiguous, or they're within 200 feet of another sidewalk. They're already in the code, it's already covered, as opposed to going and making additional line items. The reality of it is most of these properties are within, even in the existing code, if you change nothing except for saying a minor subdivision of 2 lots or less, the majority of the properties that are adjacent to a school or adjacent to a major thoroughfare, they already have sidewalks, including across the street from my home, there's a big piece of ground that's undeveloped. But it already has contiguous sidewalk on 4th East that runs right up to that property line. There was a question about this when it was opened up to the full city about Worsley Lane. There's a development, they're subdividing 2 houses there, and the question is, well, would they be eligible for deferral? The answer is no, because the sidewalk already runs contiguous to that property and abuts it and touches into it. And so there's a lot of areas in the existing code that mitigate for things like those small pieces. Neither one of those lots on 200 East would be eligible because they already have sidewalk that abuts them.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's-
The same down here on the corner of 100 East would also not be eligible because it's already contiguous to an existing sidewalk. Anything going up, that first house on the corner, if they redevelop, they would have to. And with the provision of adding 250 feet, pretty much everybody along, is that 300 north going up from 200 east, those would all be required at that point because you'd either be touching the sidewalk that exists from east coming down or the sidewalk coming up from the elementary school. There's a lot of the code addresses these issues without, it's easy, looking at the map, it's easy to get fixated on one piece of the code without looking at the rest. But if you start looking at it as a broader piece, most of these lots aren't going to be redeveloped, and they would have already been eligible for a deferral because they're not subdivisions. They're just they're just remodels. And whereas Lisa has added to the new code that when they come in for they would have to file for a new deferral.
And that brings up a good point, that, so our previous code
Mr. Green.
was a little vague, but in some ways it was to our advantage, because it was just saying, hey, you can apply, and these are the factors that the council needs to look at. And now, I was a little worried because we're saying, as soon as we said 250 feet, but what I liked about that was, in the council meetings, we would argue, well, is that close enough? Is that not close enough? And our public works director has to look at the code and make a recommendation. But I did want to emphasize that it's still within the council's full discretion. These are not, it's not like a conditional use permit. If you meet these 25 things that we put in there that are very specific, it still doesn't mean that we have to grant it. And so I added, just as soon as I put the 250 feet, I said, the factors set forth herein are minimum requirements for deferral of public improvements, and the city council reserves the right to determine in its sole discretion whether there's good cause for the deferral. So on some of these where you're saying, wait a minute, the school, or this, or we're finishing a piece, I don't care if you're 300 feet away, that's awfully close. So we did go back and forth on, should we put a number in, but I think it's helpful for all to say,
Okay.
this is kind of what we're looking for, but we still could deny it. Or you could take the 250 feet out and leave it vague again.
No, I like it.
It's better not to be
Yeah.
vague.
Yeah. So that's why we went less than, because they still have to make the argument. If we say 500 feet, we're really going to restrict the number of people that can even apply.
Yeah.
So we're saying, fine, we're going to make it broader, these can apply, but maybe only these get approved.
Yep.
You don't,
Yeah.
but. So good point. This is just.
Thank you, Lisa.
Still reserve the discretion.
Yeah, there's a lot of tension that we have to weigh.
Yeah.
As a care, having grown up with my grandparents up there, we loved taking walks on the areas without sidewalks. And I actually personally love taking walks from my house on the areas without sidewalks.
Just the freedom.
I just like it. It
Yeah,
feels,
I agree.
feels cozier. That said,
I like it too.
we need to put sidewalks in.
Yeah.
And
Well, this
so-
might be a good segue, so we can hear from our Public Works Director,
Yeah.
Mike Carlson, who has come and sat through this lengthy meeting, but
Thank you, Mike.
Yes.
just from the department that, has to maintain all these sidewalks.
Well, I usually don't agree with having given a deferral. My thing is it's the cheapest time to put it in is when you're doing it, you know? But having said that, you know, a couple other areas, I'm thinking of one deferral is on 4th East that I denied because I felt like they needed to have enough opportunity to get into the old part of town, so to speak. And, you know, I got overruled, and that's okay. I don't mind it at all. It's part of the job, but it's hard to determine, you know, what's right and what's wrong. I love the old part of town. I have since 1982 when I started working for the city. Wait, that makes me old. But anyway, you know, it's a neat, unique place to have it. And I really like the compromise that we have because I think it still gives us some latitude to try to make things work in the half of it. It's like, for me, it's just like, yeah, there is no cheaper time than when it's present. But the thing is also, I get it where we have these little segues of a sidewalk and then no sidewalk and stuff like that. I get it. Where's the happy medium? I'm not quite sure, to be honest with you. My big push was, and it got addressed by Lisa before I even got a chance to say anything, but, you know, Main Street, 4th East, where people are walking all the time, had to have it. That was a goal of mine, but Lisa nailed that long before I even got a chance to say anything. But it's, you know, the safety element is what part of my job is about. It's trying to make sure that the citizens are safe to and from of where they go. And so when I analyze it, I have to look at it. I've only gave one deferral in the whole 5 years that I've been the director, but that was one that made totally no sense whatsoever. You know, as Mr. Green was saying, there are a lot of spots on First North, there's, you know, that it's really gonna be tough to put sidewalk in. And it's not gonna be any easier when you go, if you just call on the deferral and you go put it in, it's even gonna be probably worse. But then again, will the city ever do it? I have no clue, you know? I just know that, you know, it's hard to foresee what's gonna go on. Like I say, having what I said, I love the old part of town and how it is, how it's set up with no sidewalks. But there again, I try to do whatever I'm directed to do by code, and that's what I try to follow through. I can try to answer any questions, but I think Lisa did a great job in hitting our staff stuff. That's why we let her go first.
She's awesome.
Oh, and Sydney too, and Mike, but anyway.
I love Lisa.
That's kind of where I'm at with it, you know, I get the half-acre lot up there. I mean, there's no sidewalk around there other than, you know, there's one that's a button to the curb that Fisher put in. I think it was Fisher, right?
Really solid.
No, this is on the west side of 6th East.
Oh.
Farmer, Jay Farmer.
Jay Farmer, that's
Yeah.
actually not sidewalk, it's parking.
Well, it is, but there's still a place to walk, you know, so, but other than that, there's really nothing in the area, you know. I don't have major heartburn with, you know, allowing this not to go in at this time, but, you know, if I have to get asked, I know where I'm going with it, so, anyway.
Thank you.
Okay, any questions?
Questions from the planning commission? Okay,
No.
very good.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you. So, Mr. Green, you've heard all of this, and I know you've come back, but I want to give you a last bite at the apple. Do you have anything else you want to add?
Not a lot. I appreciate the planning commission taking the time to hear it and look at it and study it. The whole thing, it kind of boils back to just the first point. It was just allowing citizens the opportunity to present their case to the city council and say, here's why. And at the end of the day, if the council, even on this parcel that the one that I've called attention to, at the end of the day, if the city council looks at it and goes, you know what? No, we don't want to grant a deferral, we still want sidewalk there, that's the prerogative of the council to do as elected officials of the Suttonville citizens to make that decision. And I feel like between the discussions, I mean, this has been several months and discussions and multiple meetings with staff, I think we've come up with a really good middle ground solution that doesn't open up the city to a whole bunch of problems logistically. I think it's created an opportunity that allows citizens at least a chance to plead their case. And that's basically the gist of this, was just give them an opportunity to plead their case. And there's going to be times, I mean, you look at the map on 100 South, and somebody comes in and says, I want a deferral, you can look at it and go, well, you've got sidewalk on either side of you.
Yeah.
You've got to put it in. that makes sense. And I think this is a good common sense way to mitigate the concerns of those that live in Old Centerville, that have lived here a long time. I've not been here quite as long, you know, I was born here in '84, but I was here when those improvement district went in, the special improvement district, and there was a lot of fighting then about whether or not to go with backstop curb or rounded curb. And half of our streets are rounded and half of them are curb backed. And honestly, I still love the rounded one. Mine has a rounded curb. It makes mowing the lawn a lot easier. All the kids use my front yard as the emergency off-ramp coming down 200 North because there's no curb. Their bikes across the grass, their trikes, their wagons. I mean, we really do have a nice piece of Old Centerville, and it's very nostalgic. It's even where the sidewalks exist up on 7th East, nobody uses them. You can go park your car up there at 7 a.m. and watch, and every person that walks, there's not a single person that ever touches that sidewalk. You can go up Parish Lane even, and the sidewalk from 4th East to Deer Hollow Circle gets used, but after Deer Hollow, going up Parish, not a person touches that sidewalk. It just doesn't happen. And it's just because of the way and the nature of the neighborhood that we're in. The other piece that I have a concern about on mandating kind of the hopscotch sidewalk is that, okay, this house is doing it today. The next one comes in 35 years or 30 years. How is the condition of sidewalk one that's now sat for 30 years waiting for sidewalk to tie to it? Is it broken? Is it cracked? Is it lifted? Is it going to have to be ripped out and replaced to make it a usable sidewalk again, even though it's been unused for 30 years as a piece of a hopscotch sidewalk? As a builder and I wouldn't call myself a developer. I'd call myself more of a restorer of homes. I do a lot of renovations. I get it. I get the need for it. I get the need for putting in sidewalks, especially when you're doing a massive development. And I think that's very, it's very wise. I actually brought up when we had this discussion with staff before I even filed my text amendment. I understand the reluctance, especially after watching what happened in Farmington. Was that Glover's, tied down to the school that caused all the problems and the headaches. I think they call it Phoenix Lane or something now.
Yeah, it's Phoenix.
But it was Glover's Lane, and that was a headache. Now, I would say that Glover's Lane was long before set to be a major thoroughfare, much more so than a 200 North or First South or even Parish Lane dead ending at the top. I just don't see us having much more traffic than we currently have in our neighborhood. And so I feel like this really does make a common sense play for the city to be able to at least hear people come in and say, here's why, here's what I think. And that's all we're asking for in the text amendment, was just a simple opportunity to present the case and then allow it to be heard on its merits. So I appreciate you guys taking the long night to hear about the dogs first, and now I have to listen to something so boring as sidewalks. I appreciate it. Thank you. If you have any other questions, I'm happy to address them.
Thank
I
you.
do have a follow-up question for staff. Why, was there a conversation about limiting the request process to the planning commission only, rather than sending it all the way up to the city council? Has that been discussed?
No.
Okay. One of the reasons being is that we're better equipped. They don't necessarily have to deal with, this is truly an administrative. And honestly, personally, I would say just limit it to staff, but that's not as palatable for staff, and for obvious reasons. I would wonder if that is a possibility. So it hasn't been discussed,
The
Mr.
deferral agreement does go to the
It would have to as an agreement.
Yeah, as an agreement, we take that agreement to the council, so that's typically the public works director, sorry, he had to go for an emergency, but he makes a recommendation, so staff reviews it, makes a recommendation to the council, and then the council gives staff direction, yes or no, and then we bring an agreement to them. But, I don't know, yeah.
But doesn't it also pass through the planning commission prior to the city council? No? I can't remember.
Commissioner Mendenhall.
I'm just wondering, because of the financial commitment that's being made, whether we at the planning commission can even deal with that, or whether.
No,
they
we
have to-
can't bind the city for the
They have to sign the
portion.
agreement, but.
Yeah, they would have to eventually. Now that I'm talking about this out loud, it's going to go to the city council anyways.
Yeah, sounds like it.
We save time.
Question withdrawn.
And I was just gonna make, for me as a citizen, and this is personal belief, I feel like it's very important that decisions like that actually get to go to the city council.
100%.
Because that's who I voted for.
Yeah.
And I realize the
vote for us?
commission, I know the commission's appointed by the mayor and those kinds of things, but, and this is way off topic, but the creation of these independent taxing districts and
100%.
other things going out, I feel like there's less and less power for the citizen to actually get in touch with the person that makes decisions on their behalf. And so I would say, for me, I would like it to continue to go to the council. I know you went through the question, but that's just my thoughts.
No worries.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to close all of the everything, and then we're just going to talk about this among the commission. Who wants to lead out?
As someone that's building on Porter Lane, I see the importance of having sidewalks. We're obviously putting them on. It's at my cost. I'm happy to do it. I also walk every morning up on the east bench, and I am like you,
Walk on the road.
I do. I love the free of just being able to just walk and not being tied. But I do see, I'm torn because I'm paying the money to have Porter Lane established with sidewalks. Personally, I'm paying as someone that's building. But I also don't see the importance of having a sidewalk that starts, that there's no sidewalks that leads. It just doesn't make sense. If there's no sidewalk that leads to it, that's my opinion.
Okay, other comments?
I would say similar vein, but as a resident on, Center Street right at the base of this hill, one of the things that I've noticed is that, as you get towards the base of the hill, cars start to go a lot faster right before they hit 400 East. And so that separation can be pretty important, especially at the bottom of the hill. And that's why I think this approach makes a lot of sense, where we're not making deferrals easier, we're making it clearer how to go about the process and helping to inform the decision-making more, so that we're not running into instances where we're leaving gaps where it's essential we have them. So I'm in support.
Okay.
My comments, some of them would be, I walk every day, sometimes mostly twice a day.
Wow.
And I always use the sidewalk.
Not a girl.
I walk my dog, and it's
Smart.
just what I do, and it's safer.
Yep.
And I feel that it's important to have them. I think that this is so well thought out. I think staff did seriously a knockout job on this. There were at least a lot of changes that were made to better it. I think that it's a lot more clear, and I think it's a much better alternative than what we had. I like it. I think it's well done.
Any comments from this side of the table?
Do you have anything, Gary?
I'm in favor of sidewalks, I think, especially in places that you're talking about around schools and that kind of thing, a safe route for the kids to walk. I drove through the neighborhood, and you can see the piecemeal nature of what's going on up there, and obviously there are reasons for deferrals. So I think that the process of getting a deferral is much clearer now, and so I agree with the language. And I think that, where we can have sidewalks, we should, but there are definitely places where it's going to be pretty difficult to accomplish that, so, yeah.
I told Mike earlier, I'd like to get the Historic Preservation Group in Centerville to take the central city and do away with sidewalks altogether, but no, I think what's been done here is exceptional. I think putting sidewalks in rare, random areas is probably more dangerous than having no sidewalk at all. And I think this absolutely provides a means for us to at least weigh and view the alternatives.
Okay, I'll go last. Contrary to Mr. Green's experience, when I do walk those roads, I do use those sidewalks. That's okay. I mean, to each his own. Growing up in this area, at least with my grandparents there, I love the idea of an area of preservation where the city doesn't have sidewalks. That's one thing. And so if this were to be tweaked to allow for a area of preservation for no sidewalks, I could see my heartstrings being pulled in that direction. The logical part of my brain says, what the heck are you thinking? Don't do that.
Yeah.
Also, the logical part of my brain sort of, you guys have all heard that analogy where a guy's walking on the beach and he sees somebody throwing starfish back into the water. And he's like, you're never going to be able to rescue all these starfish. And the response is, yeah, but I'm rescuing this one. It's the same analogy here. I don't want to say to somebody, listen, you have to put a sidewalk in. And the response is, yeah, but why me? I'm the first. Yes, you are. And this is where it starts. And so yeah, otherwise, I don't know. So I'm really torn. I love what staff has done with the draft, and I think Mr. Green has raised a lot of really persuasive points. So I'm probably going to vote against proposing it to forward it to the council, simply as a signal that deferrals really are not a good idea. It has no commentary on the product. I think the product is really good, and in fact, better than what we have. And so the attorney in me is like, well, why are you voting against something that's better and makes it easier for a city? Because I want there to be a signal that this is not unanimous. Because there's other really big part of me that says this should be amended to not allow for deferrals, period.
And I would make a motion against you.
That's perfect.
I know, you and I differ
I
a
know.
lot, and I love it.
Yes.
I love it. Because I think that this is a much better alternative than what's out there. And I think that it is very well thought out, that it not only helps the citizens, but it also protects the city.
Right.
And what the city needs.
Which is why I want the motion to pass.
Mason.
I know. I'll take a motion.
Or before we take a motion, just one.
Let's be clear.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, one other comment I would just make, and in my mind is not anything that needs to be adjusted when it comes to these code amendments, but one thing that I see as potentially missing here is having those formalized plans in place where we're saying, okay, if we are going to, if internally we think we ought to have a sidewalk on one side of the street on some of these uphill roads or in this historic district, we need to start to document where we want those to be so that if we're going to allow this to occur piecemeal like it is, we already have a plan in place about which side that's going to be and so on and so forth. But that's not necessarily for the code. That's perhaps something the code needs to reference down the road.
So, to piggyback off of that, Lisa, that map that you showed, then you said it was from, point A to B and C to D right there. Doesn't that sort of answer that question, though?
No.
Partially, it doesn't answer what side of the street.
Well, it does allow the city council and/or the public works director to look at that area. I mean, our GIS map that shows sidewalks in blue and no sidewalks in red helps the decision maker make that analysis, but they have to make that analysis every time, and those decision makers change, which is another, objective of staff. We want our decisions to be objective. We want to give criteria that are objective so that people get, similar results. It's not. So anyway, I think it is something that staff would like to do and at least say this is the recommendation, but again, this was a compromise that I think that can be looked at and should be put on the list of things to do.
Can I jump on that? I'm leery of an approach where we treat one side of the street different than the other. If it was the city paying for it every day of the week, if it was the citizens paying for it, which it is, I don't want to create situations where the citizens are like, why do I have to put
That's
it in?
very
Why do I have to
true.
pay $50,000 when my neighbor?
If I'm on Porter versus, yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
it's true. Yeah.
That's my reservation.
That's a great point.
But all of this conversation just goes to show that there isn't going to be a clean solution here.
No,
So anyways,
you want to
Other-
develop, you're going to pay.
other comments?
Oh, sorry, I just had one thing that I wanted to discuss, and I apologize, I haven't brought this up with Mike and Sydney, but I believe that the staff recommendation is denial
Yeah.
but we've proposed what, sort of our wish list. As staff, we want to be cautious about, we've made mistakes in the past where we join forces with the applicant. So we tried to be very careful this time to say, look, this is the applicant's application, and this is city staff's. Now, the applicant is saying, yes, we like that direction, but possibly the planning commission, depending on how you want it, you could either say, we recommend denial and let the council work through these policy things, or you could say, we recommend approval subject to using staff's recommended changes in ordinance 2026-13. So if you adopt this version, council, we like it. So either no, we don't want to go in this direction, we don't think it's good, we appreciate all the work that staff has done, or we think staff's version is way too complicated, we want to go with the applicants. So I think those are some of your options, but the approval subject to this version, I think is legitimate.
So that,
Okay.
that would be motion number 2, is that what you're saying, that number 2 approval with?
Yeah, it's sort of it's sort of motion, it would be, I would just say, subject to the additional staff recommended changes set forth in draft ordinance number 2026-13, and then you would use the findings 1 through 3, but adding to that we find that the proposed text amendments with staff's changes are consistent. And with staff's changes, that doesn't create detrimental impact, and with staff's changes, they're in the best interest of the city.
Are you going to repeat that? And just-
I'm going to make
That
a
was like
motion
a
to
lot.
deny.
Yeah.
That was,
Yeah, I'm just giving you options.
Can I make a motion?
Yeah, if,
well, hold on.
Okay.
So I want you to say one more time, all of your legalese or your basic verbiage, I want you to say one more time. So if it was a recommend to approve, but it's subject to blah, 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 finish that.
so yeah, let me just say your options again, because I know I.
Yes, please.
Quickly. Option number 1 is to just approve the requested amendment as drafted by the applicant.
But you're
Open this
you're
up to-
suggesting to deny.
Or deny, staff's recommendation in the staff report is to just deny, and we can send all this debate up to the city council, and they can decide whether they want to deny it in full, or, open the door with all these guardrails. And then the third option would be, so approve as applicant, deny, or approve
With those conditions.
as long as city council you adopt all of the changes recommended by staff.
Okay.
Then it's acceptable. I'm just saying, that would be that motion.
And the 3 findings would have staff's amended version of the document in the findings.
If you look at motion number 1, each condition says the planning commission finds that the proposed text amendments, are consistent with the general plan, but the recommendation would be, well, the proposed text amendments with the staff's changes
As modified.
are consistent with that. And
Right.
the proposed text amendments don't create a detrimental impact. Well, with staff's recommended changes, they don't create a detrimental impact. So on each 3 of those, just adding after amendments with staff's changes.
With staff's, yeah, okay.
Well, then I'd like to make a motion.
I'd like to as well.
Okay, we'll start with Vice Chair Patterson.
So I'd like to make a motion to approve. But as long as city council approves all the proposed text amendments that staff has requested for the changes.
Okay, so I have a motion. I know that typically we go through a full motion cycle. I'm going to go ahead and allow Commissioner Jorgensen to make her motion as well.
Can you scroll up, please?
Scroll up or down?
Scroll up.
Or down?
Sorry, down. I apologize. I hereby make a motion to recommend City Council the denial of the proposed zoning code text amendments to Centerville zoning code 10.04.170 deferral of public improvements based on the following reasons for action findings 1 through 3.
Okay, so I have two motions on the table. Who will be seconding one of them?
Paul is raising his hand for
I'm
something.
going to second Vice Chair Patterson.
Excellent. Anybody going to second the denial? Seeing none, that motion fails.
Okay.
And so we have a motion on the table. Any comment?
Could I just bring up the findings commentary, or the findings with the findings that have been recommended by city attorney?
Please.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So that is the motion. I'll start down here.
Aye.
Aye. State it.
No.
Nay.
Nay.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that passes 5-2.
4-2.
Oh, 4-2, thank you. Mr. Jenkins is not here today. So that passes with a positive recommendation with amendments.
This is like the Supreme Court. Now you can write a.
Yeah.
You can write it
At least there's a majority, right? Like, rather than a plurality.
And you don't
Yes.
have to say this, but just, it would be helpful for me. Was there something else we could do to the ordinance, or is it, this is poor policy and we should support sidewalks?
Yeah, I'll be clear on my nay. My nay is super happy that the motion passed because it puts into place a framework that is superior to what we have.
Yes.
However, for policy reasons, I believe that no deferral should be allowed except for the most extreme of circumstances. And this framework is not extreme enough. The heart in me says, what the heck are you saying? Create a conservation zone or something. But that's, I don't think, wise policy for the city. So that's why I said nay.
What, did you have something that you wanted to say? Because your hand went out like,
Oh, no, yeah.
are you sure?
Okay.
Did you want to say anything, or just, it's?
I just feel the same way. I feel like that if you are going to develop a property, I feel like there shouldn't be deferral opportunities.
It's the best.
That's my
way to do
opinion.
it. Okay.
And there, I think everybody has really good points. All the points are super valid.
Okay, good
Right.
luck to the city council who's either viewing or will
And that's what
view.
you wanted, Kyle, so.
Is everybody good to continue? Do we need a 5-minute break?
No.
Well, how long does Mike have to speak?
Okay,
How
so.
long is Mike going to be speaking? Might determine.
Well, the next one will probably be at least one.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
And the next one should be
Faster.
really relatively quick unless you have a lot to talk about on that basic
Well, can we
issue.
take a 2-minute break?
Yeah, we're going to take a 3-minute break.
Okay.
I was just going to say, like, staff.
I thought I had printed out this last item. Tell me what the last item is again. Mike, last item.
We're just gonna like.
It's,
I thought I printed it out. but
it's
apparently I haven't.
split zoning, split lot zoning.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah, that was strange.
Yeah, we have lots in the community,
Excedrin, use
there's-
an Excedrin.
cross zone, and it makes it hard to what is the best policy in those scenarios.
Etch a sketch.
So what this is when we come across them, forcing any kind of development to push that they become uniform.
Legos?
What did we do with Spence Packers?
That's exactly why we're bringing it up. He's the prototype for why this is
Well,
even happening.
because I mean, he's got 2 lots,
Yeah.
basically, unless he merges it.
He did merge the zoning,
course.
so he would.
Is that
Mason
okay?
has to sit next to me every time.
Well, actually, if they want to approve
How
this,
compels it if you want to develop your property.
Yeah, no, you did, excellent.
Whereas
Really, really
before,
good.
it didn't go, and a lot of cities have this.
Did all the
What
work.
happens is you get in a situation where it's hard
That
for
was a
tax
team
policy as
effort.
far as the county, because you have 2 different assessments, right? If you have a mixed, let's say it's a commercial residential property, right? Creates an assessment problem. And then even from the city, when it comes to any kind of land use request, you don't know, are they developing a commercial lot or residential lot? And you know, you have a situation like that. So then what rules are they following? Do you do geographical area and say, well, this area you're subject to commercial ordinances, but this you're not? This clears it up, or the whole parcel has to be that zone. Now, I guess they could do a subdivision in a split zone scenario as well, right? If you had two zones, you can make the one lot match the zone that it is, and then the other lot, that's not as clean as.
Sometimes.
Okay.
At least it will get people. That's the basic theory of what we're talking about.
I am.
Cities, I've never before cities, every one of them has had this problem.
All right, what do we have over here that's worthy?
A product of older policy in older areas of the city, properties that have never really had a lot of development. And so they kind of get this weird.
So I hope you're wearing them when you're driving.
Oh, yes, yes,
Processing.
yes, I
When I say old, I'm talking 80
yeah.
years old type parcels.
It has been a struggle because I have
It
a
would
standing
be
desk, and
interesting
my
to see.
standing desk is probably about like this far away.
Is that far
On those
enough? where
lots
it's
down
starting
there,
to
how
work?
they,
I have like maybe the
I won't tell Judy.
it was yeah, my boss.
just because she can't eat them.
But it was struggled right now.
I'm okay. I got my soda. It's been amazing.
It was like,
Really?
Oh, it was.
Oh my gosh, they are purple? That's a bad idea.
I really give it. I guess I'm far. I can
No,
see close up
it's
really well.
interesting, even on his,
Officially, the first
if you look at the way those lots
3
are.
days, probably.
My heart rate is still up. My heart rate is still.
But he got. Bought that one piece, he bought
That's crazy.
I was
the
like
corner piece,
trying to.
and he had the piece behind it.
So.
And then you go back up, and then he's got put parcel up above
Yeah.
that, but then there's pieces in between.
Again, they're all in interior, which makes them even harder to develop because they don't even have frontage. So at some point, I mean, those parcels, frankly, they're probably inexpensive, but they're kind of
Funny
junk
people.
parcels until either he's hoping that
must be pretty extreme.
Oh, yeah.
five rocks come back, then those entire parcels also need to be developed. But yeah, but even then, hold on, I mean, real estate's always, no matter how small or big it is,
So,
the question is it developed?
you know,
That's always, otherwise it's just
I'm gonna do
property.
today. Okay,
I've been really patient with
friends,
I was like,
questions, countrymen, I don't know.
Sure.
Thanks, Kyle.
Thank you, Kyle.
Three littles under 5 at home, so I'm gonna.
We have a spot for you if you need one.
That might be
us know.
a valid basis.
Are you guys looking for a commission?
Yeah, just let us know.
He's full.
Oh, we're not full.
We're full.
We are full.
We are full.
I'm like, what? Poor Lane.
Plus, you wouldn't even talk to us.
You're kicking Lane out.
We love
You
Lane.
gotta go talk to the mayor.
We can
All
always
right.
fit one more.
We're back on the record. Item number 3, Mr. Eggett? Or no, Lisa.
Actually, let's turn this one over to Lisa, yeah.
Oh, okay,
Are you okay with that, Lisa?
sure. And I might put that.
yep, do you want me to pull it up now?
Well, we'll start here.
Okay.
So we have a proposed staff recommended text amendment regarding split zoning. So when we say split zoning, we mean that one lot or parcel has 2 different zones. So you might be ag in the front and residential in the back. And so this has come up historically. I think we had the Flowers with the Summerhill Lane, and they wanted to acquire some property, and we said, well, you have to rezone. And also with Abe Millett on Frontage Road, he wanted to do a little lot split and move his line. We said, well, if you want this, you have to rezone it. But someone came in who already had, I think, split zoning. And what's nice, I will say, having Mike and Sydney, they read the code, and, they were looking, and then they called me and said, we can't find anything that prevents split zoning. And I said, no, we don't allow split zoning. It's not allowed. But anyway, I looked through the code and could not find anything specifically, and Mike had found a provision that said, well, if your lot or parcel is whatever zone or zones,
Yeah.
I think we do have to say zones, because sometimes you're residential, but you have the hillside overlay, so that would be zones, but I could also see how he was reading it, well, so anyway, it's easy enough to fix, because we do not want to allow split zoning. It creates problems with what can you use it for, and most cities do prohibit it. So this is a quick text amendment to make it clear that in Centerville, we do not allow split zoning, and that if that zoning exists, you know, we're not going to generally bring them in right now, but if they want to develop their property or do anything, at that point is a triggering event where they will need to correct it. And we give them two options, and this was sort of with the millets, like you can either rezone to bring your lot into one zone, or if you're lot splitting, you can just do a boundary line adjustment or something so that it lines up with the boundary lines of two new lots or parcels. So in the research that I did on this, it did say cautionary that you really shouldn't have your zoning administrator just say, oh, well, we're going to call this all ag or all residential, because now you're taking away a legislative authority from the city council. So that was the one legal caution. We do allow the zoning administrator to make some boundary if they're unclear, or if it's following a street or something like that. But anyway, so I'm referencing those which are in 1230, 050, and 060. So there is some authority, but generally they just really need to do a lot split or a boundary line adjustment. So we will hold them up. So, and maybe if you want to bring up that other Excel, or I did send you the PDF, yeah. Oh, sorry, no, that was the last one.
My bad.
Sorry.
Split lot zoning.
Yeah, the
analysis.
PDF's probably going to be best. So I did ask Mike Smith, our GIS, to check, and I had already done an analysis of how many parcels do we have with split zoning, and we have 5. So the top orangey pink, those 5 are actually have split zoning, and so the Millet one should be fixed. They just need to record their subdivision. So somehow the zoning was conditioned upon, but it accidentally got, so I think we can fix that one. And the Rolling Hills is also doing a minor subdivision right now and will likely be fixed. Now, these other ones are just oddities, like if you, sometimes you have 2 parcels, so we have a bunch of properties that abut up to an elementary school, and the school was zoned public facility, and they ended up just carving off backs of, their lot, and they did a parcel, quitclaim deed, but never rezoned it. And so those, they're 2 parcels with the same parcel number, so technically it's a split zone. But anyway, I mainly did this chart for the city council in case they would like to tackle these, because this is a great example. Like if you just look at your zoning map, you think that property is probably the school district's, but it's not.
Oh.
It's this one. So
Okay.
the city could initiate this, and I would like to, but I can also see that people might not like their property being rezoned, but.
Is this where we did,
Yeah, we made the flowers
by
change.
reading, yes.
Yes,
because
see,
they
the
were in
flowers had
Prohibited.
to change it, and now it looks like a nice big lot.
Oh, okay,
with-
that's,
Yeah, with
Got
the
it.
right zoning.
Yep.
So, anyway, that was just to let you know, we're only looking at about 5 lots or parcels that this ordinance would actually apply to. And so we're recommending approval, and to fix this, and I appreciate Mike and Sydney bringing this up. I think we were still able to argue that our code doesn't allow it, and before you want to do anything, you need to fix this. But the city could also initiate the zone change if we wanted. We do have that authority. So we're recommending approval. It does require a public hearing, since it is an amendment to our zoning code, but I'm happy to answer any questions, or if Mike or Sydney have some comments as well.
I will say that with the boundary line adjustments, the new code where you can do like a simple or a full boundary line adjustment, that's a concern why we might or might not allow for split lot zoning, because right now we actually have a boundary line adjustment that is wanting to do a boundary line adjustment between zones, and having this in our code will state that, okay, you do need to do a full, because if not, then it would create a parcel that would be split lot zoning, and we foresee that happening a lot more. So just keep that in mind.
All right. Questions for staff?
None.
Seeing none, proceeding to the public hearing. The public hearing is now open. I will take public comments from anybody who wants. Seeing none, closing the public hearing, bringing it back to the commission for further questions or debate. I will accept a motion.
I hereby make a motion to recommend to the City Council approval of the zoning code text amended to CZZ 12.30.040 zoning map amendments and enacting CZZ 12.30.045 of the same, prohibiting split zoning on any parcel or lot and setting forth guidelines on how to resolve existing lots or parcels with split zoning based on the following reasons for action findings 1 through 4.
I have a motion. I think Commissioner Adamson was first, so Commissioner Adamson on second. I will start down here.
Aye.
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 Be funny if I said nay.
Yeah.
You should.
No. All right, so moving on in the agenda to the report.
All right, I'll try to keep it brief. I know we're running out of time, but I do have a couple of things for the body. Just as a follow-up from last night's city council meeting, I'm sure there's a few items you'd be interested in knowing the outcome. The Shorelands Commerce Park zoning text amendment was approved by the council, so that change is now in place.
For what? Because I missed part of
Like-
it.
Shorelands Commerce Park, the Shorelands
The
Commerce
vehicle?
Park, the vehicle change to the Shorelands Commerce Park. Remember with Saltomoto and
So motorcycles can do repairs.
Yes, now I,
out heavy
yes.
vehicles and putting in.
Got it.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah,
So,
now I get it.
That was approved, okay?
approved last night, and then the water efficient landscaping amendments were approved last night after
Oh,
a
wow.
good discussion.
Okay.
So that was very positive, and the associated changes to the municipal code, 11.0 parkship trees was adopted. And then we did, this is a minor one, but just kind of as a point or a note, professional services deposits, we used to do them as a practice, but we've been putting in more staff time than was, I guess, necessary, because every bill that was coming in was eventually exceeding the deposit amount, so that has been captured and collected back into the base fee, is just the base fee amount, and we've taken that back. So no more professional services deposits, I guess, is the point of the story. The council did approve that last night. So Lisa was on show last night in a lot of these. So she did a great job, and those are all in place. So questions with the water efficient landscaping amendment, it did come up, and just so you know, in case anybody comes to you, a counselor asked, well, with that now being approved, does that mean that somebody can go right tomorrow to go pursue a rebate with Weaver Basin? The answer is not quite. Technically, the code will be in place as of May 1 officially.
Oh, thank
As
you.
you remember with the non-conforming.
I was wondering
Okay.
that.
So we don't quite know how Weaver Basin will receive that. I still need to send them the update that has been approved, or maybe I'll wait for some, I don't know.
Yeah,
you
the
said
mayor
something
hasn't
from me.
signed it yet, but
Yeah, so
we'll get it.
once the mayor formally does, we'll send it to them. So if you're having people ask, tell them just to wait a little bit longer, but that will be implemented as from the city on May 1. It'll actually be in place, so. The other thing I wanted to note was that there's a land use bill. I know it's a lot of legalese, but I would still highly recommend you looking at it. We probably will analyze and talk about it a little more. It's Senate Bill 284, Substitution 6. That was the one that was enrolled. That's the major local land and water modifications bill. It's a very comprehensive sweeping bill. There's quite a bit in there, including some commentary about the planning commissioners and your operation. So I would recommend looking over and looking specifically at the amendments that are in there. That's also where the detached ADU language is found, if you're curious of what the state is requiring in that. So you'll find that there. They did go with 11,000 square feet or larger is legislatively acceptable.
Wow.
So now we'll have to figure out with that code language, looks like within the guidelines and the rules that have been established by the legislature in that. So take a look at that. If you get a minute, I think it would be worth your time. And then the last thing that I will note, per your bylaws, technically we should have leadership elections. We should have done that first year, but we had some changeover in planning commissioners. So if you're okay with it, I would like to put elections on your next planning commission meeting.
That'd be great.
I will not be here, and Gary will not be here at the next meeting. So, no.
If they're not here,
Then we don't get a say
don't.
to vote for you again.
To vote for you.
I nominate.
It can happen.
Chair of the race. It rhymes, I love it.
I'm happy to wait even a month out. It sounds
We
like
need to wait till we're here.
But
I think
I'd
we
like
need
to
to wait
get
till
Yeah, I
that
agree.
full.
sooner than later, so, okay.
And Lane here as well.
Then don't be surprised if you see it on your agenda in 2 meetings from today.
May. Okay.
I will also say that I have been asked to get pictures
Oh,
for
yeah.
the city website. So,
Word pass.
well, I'm sorry, the next meeting that Lorraine and Gary will be here, whatever one we vote on, just come ready for a picture.
Okay.
We're always ready for
Already have some.
I love that, Paul. I love that.
He said we're always ready for, he might be.
Look at him, every Wednesday he's ready.
He's in the suit and tie.
And that's all I'd have to report for today.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mike, that reminded me, I do not have a copy of the bylaws.
Yes, I do have a copy. I can push that out to all of you.
Can you email us?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm sending you an email right now.
Okay.
Okay, minutes.
So let's move forward to the minutes phase. Anybody have any comments?
I didn't notice anything that
I
needed to
read
be
through them.
changed.
It's
Okay,
usually
I
Gary
will,
that finds it though, so.
I will accept a motion.
I make a motion to
I
accept.
second that motion.
Well, let me finish.
I apologize.
I make a motion to accept the minutes as written.
Yep.
I second.
Perfect. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none. I will accept a motion to close.
I make a motion to close.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Sorry, I had to wait for my motion to say what it was.
Sorry. Found a gun and I'm going to take it home.